This over here is the brand new Q's Road Shifter, and this is a Q's front derailleur. They should work, right? Back here, I have a hyperglide cassette, and that shouldn't work, right? In this video, we're going to dive into the weird and quirky world of compatibility within Shimano Q's. You know, when it was first announced, that was its big selling point. That was going to unify the lower end groove sets, and we're going to have finally a cross-compatible system between drop bars and flat bars. Has it panned out? We shall see. So this video is made possible by Old Man Mountain, makers of durable, no-nonsense, and highly compatible racks and accessories. I think the first thing I want to talk about is the cassette. I mentioned in previous videos that I mix and match HG stuff with link glide stuff, and it works. And it works under certain circumstances, and people seem to want to fight me on that. So let's put that baby to bed. So for those that are keeping score, this is the Q's 8020 rear derailleur, massive capacity. This is an 11 speed, I think it's a PC 1130. So it's a SRAM 11 speed chain. Crankset here is by IRD from our friends over at Summit Fabrications. This is an S-Ride front derailleur. We'll be swapping this out in a bit to try other front derailleurs with the shifter, but for now, let's focus here. So this is a derailleur cassette. It's an 11 to 42 in 11 speeds. I forget the exact model number, but it is 11 speeds. That's the important part. Again, 11 speed chain. And I'm using the Q's shifters, and it's the 11 speed version. So everything is 11 speed. Will it work? Will it index fine? Let's find out. Looks fine to me. First myth debunked. Yes, you can use HG cassettes within a link glide system in Shimano Q's. It just has to be 11 speed. So for example, you couldn't use a 10 or 9 speed hyperglide cassette with 10 or 9 speed Q's because the cog pitch is that of 11 speed. But with 11 speed, it all balances out. So as long as you're running 11 speed, you can use a hyperglide cassette, a derailleur cassette, and it will shift with the Q's shifter. I think a lot of people get confused about the link glide thing. Does link glide refer to a cable pull, or is it the teeth profiling? The way I interpret it is that link glide specifically refers to the profiling of the teeth and how they're more robust because they're made for e-bikes or for touring or durability, whereas hyperglide focuses on, you know, faster and smoother shifts. So the way I interpret that, at least, is there is some cross compatibility. Like this isn't a link glide specific or a Q specific chain. Again, it's SRAM. And it all works together. So yes, you can use Q's 11 speed with hyperglide cassettes as long as they are 11 speed as well. The cog pitch, the spacing between the cogs is about the same. There is the same or identical or close enough. But again, feel like it actually shifts faster in this configuration, especially going down into the smaller cogs. It's just a little bit quicker because the profile of hyperglide kind of prioritizes the quicker shifts and less robustness. So there you go. That's for all the people that like freak out whenever I say you can use hyperglide with Q's. Before we check out how it shifts, let's take a look at the Old Man Mountain build of the week. And this one comes from the X Biking subreddit. This bike is from Instagram user Maybe Michael, who is a chef based in Austin, Texas. And his bike is a super pimped out Klein. He worked as a mechanic in the late 90s and early 2000s, which is the golden age of bikes. And when he got his hands on a Klein again, he pimped it out with an Old Man Mountain Elkhorn, as well as the basket. When asked what he takes on his bike, he said it's a commuter to and from work, out to local swimming hole in Barton Springs. And he also takes it to play putt-putt at the world's best 3-par golf course, Butler Park and Pitch. Super cool build, definitely a resto mod, and so much of it fits with the channel. I love the sweatback bars and kind of the mix of modern with the Brooks and the Garmin Varia, and of course the Old Man Mountain racks. Super unique, looks rugged and reliable. a lot like our sponsor today, Old Man Mountain. Thanks again to Old Man Mountain for supporting these hack videos, helping us buy the components to bring this bike nerdery to you. So if you're a fan of that ethos, then definitely check out Old Man Mountain. And another sweet Old Man Mountain build of the week. Okay, so the next thing we're going to tackle is a little bit more complicated and is going to be more time consuming. And it is the whole front derailleur thing. You know, what kind of front derailleur actually works with the Q's shifter. Here I'm using an S-Ride front derailleur, which as far as I can tell, uses the same cable pull ratio as, uh, you know, GRX and Tiagra, so Shimano Road, modern Shimano Road. I have found that with the Q shifter, I really have to tension it to get it over, and it takes a lot of fiddling. It does work, but it's, you know, for me, it's a passable solution because I can fix things on the fly, but not one that I would necessarily recommend. What I think I'm going to do, just to see what works, is we're going to try a variety of derailleurs, including this old 8-speed kind of non-series Shimano rear derailleur, just out of curiosity. Then I have this Q's front derailleur that works perfectly with flat bar Q's. There's some talk about how it doesn't work with drop bar, which I think is dumb if true. And we're gonna finally test that and see if that's true or not. And then ultimately I did end up buying this one. This is the FD6030, the official Q's front derailleur. It says 2x9 or 2x10 speed. You know, the front derailleur generally doesn't care if what speed chain, because the whole Q's ecosystem, 9, 10, and 11, all use an 11-speed chain anyway. So this really should just say 2x9 by 10 by 11, unless for whatever reason they don't want to promote Q's 2x11 speed in road, which makes no sense. So I'm going to do my least favorite thing, which is to totally muck up a perfectly working bike to do hacks for videos. But what are you going to do? Okay, so what I've got threaded here is that non-series 8-speed Shimano front derailleur. This is a front derailleur like God had intended. Pretty simple, only a high and limit screw setting and something to pinch the cable. No weird cable adjust or stabilizing screw like we have in the modern Shimano front derailleur. This is about as good as it gets. The eagle eye amongst you will have noticed that it's a little bit higher than is recommended. And this is largely to get me clearance from the chainstay. I've done this on many a bike, and while not aesthetically pleasing, it seems to work. It seems to shift okay. We'll see if that's the case in this situation. So once again, you do these hacks at your own risk. Cable routing is pretty simple. Just up and over like that. You know, no weird plastic cup, no weird plastic cap to thread the cable through. Does get kind of in the way, but we'll just tuck it back here for now. So the big question here is whether or not the shifter has a cable pull that will work with this and what this derailleur will do. Okay. Definitely need to put some tension on the cable there. This was kind of what was happening with the S-Ride front derailleur. It just needed like a lot of tension for it to go. Okay, so this is where things go a little sideways. I'm fiddling with the non-series derailleur for actually a couple of hours. There's discrepancy in cable pull between the shifter and derailleur. I then swap it to a modern Sora derailleur, which is of a similar design, just, you know, updated for Sora. Again, the 2 adjustment screws and the lever arm design, not the new link toggle, and still no go. So this tells me that generally speaking, these old simple front derailleurs won't work with Q's. Interestingly, this Q's derailleur that's out for the flat bar also doesn't work. It doesn't have the toggle link technology, and therefore is not moving far enough to work. I'm not quite sure when this happened. I believe it was around the 10 to 11 speed transition that they started to use toggle link front derailleurs. But to me, this just makes no sense. Like the derailleur is essentially shifting over, you know, the same gap. 2 chain rings. It's not like they added more chain rings or they necessarily got wider, but they changed the requirements in cable pull, presumably to make it a little bit lighter in shifting, but at the cost of like braking compatibility with these older school derailleurs. This is the official Q's front derailleur that's supposed to work with the road shifters. And again, you can see it's far more complicated. It has a high and low limit screw. It's got the toggle link thing. It's got the plastic cap that you got to run the cable through. It also has a stabilizer screw somewhere in there in the middle. So the older ones used to have 2 screws and that was it. A lot more complicated. All right, so if you're still with me, hopefully I've not bored you to death. What do we do from here? Especially with this derailleur, I feel like it's my favorite design because it is made for trekking cranksets, so smaller 2x NTB cranksets. So what I think I'm going to do, I don't know if this is going to work. We're going to increase the cable pull, and we're going to use these guys. This is a JTech shiftmate. This is, Wolf Tooth makes something similar. And basically, these are used for the rear derailleur to make the shifter talk with mountain bike rear derailleurs. In this instance, I'm going to use it to kind of increase the cable pull in the system. The biggest challenge is where to put this. Because of the design of the Q's trekking front derailleur, there's not a good obvious place down here. So I'm going to try splicing it into the cable shifting system. It's gonna be a little bit hacky. I'm not quite sure if it's gonna work, but we'll give it a go. So for this hack, I'm gonna need more cable so it goes around the pulley. Kind of a pain in the butt. So I'm gonna be shifting out the front derailleur cable, unfortunately. Things you gotta do, make things work. All right, so I got some new kind of OptiSlick style cables from the bike shop downstairs. Hopefully I can do this without having to undo bar tape. That was less painful than I thought it would be. All right, so we've got the cable over here. This is not a continuous run, so I'm gonna try to splice in the pulley adapter right there. I've got this part prepped. This is what this house of cards is gonna look like. Got the cable coming from the shift. We've got the cable and the housing coming from the shifter. I'm splicing in this little piece. I've decided to go with the wolf tooth one just for funsies. And the way that this works is this would connect to the housing like so. The cable is going to do a loop. It's going to pop out this side, and you need this very specific like double-ended ferrule, which thankfully I found in my mess here. It's like finding like a needle in a haystack. This end plugs into here, and this steps it down so it will take this bit of shifter housing and this cable ferrule. And essentially this cable ferrule end will plug into here, and we would have had our spliced in cable adjuster. You can already hear all the professional bike mechanics moaning. Sure, leave your comments, whatever. This is what we're gonna try. All right, I've got it routed through the pulley. The toughest part's like holding it under tension while doing the rest of this stuff. Make sure that cable adjuster is zeroed out. This goes through here. Not gonna look pretty. It's definitely not gonna look pretty, but maybe it'll work. Okay, it's not pretty, but it's connected. So again, this is the shift cable. It goes into the pulley. The pulley then goes through a little stubby piece of cable into the barrel adjuster and then goes down the frame, up and over, and pinch bolted there. Okay, so this is literally going to be the first attempt at shifting with this system. And again, if you're completely lost why I'm working so hard to make this derailleur work with the Q shifter, is that it has the ideal shape to work with these subcompact cranks. Every other toggle link front derailleur out there does not. So short TLDR is, if you want to use road shifters and if you want to use subcompact cranks and you want to use a front derailleur that best fits it, there's literally like no option. I thought Q's was going to be the one that it says Q's here, it should work with the Q shifter, but clearly it does not. So let's see if our weird Rube Goldberg system worked here. Oh, nope. So I'm going to start adding some cable tension. Fortunately, there's actually now 2 places to add cable tension, one in the barrel adjuster and one on the wolf tooth piece. So maybe just by de facto having 2 sets of cable tension, oh, it's looking good, guys. Oh, we did it. Okay, guys, I think we did it. It took a fair amount of fiddling, mostly just dialing in the high limit screw. It was there's a tendency for it to throw the chain over. Actually, now our problem is there's too much cable pull. So fine tuning the high limit and also adjusting the angle of the front derailleur. But let's check it out. This, my friends, might be the first trekking Q's derailleur to work with the new Q's road shifter. History in the making. What do you think of that? This is low gear, low gear. There is no chain rub, so that clears okay. Put that to the high gear. This is big rings. This is the highest gear, so big here, small there. No chain rub. So I'm gonna say that this works. This is pretty cool. I will say that the shift is kind of an ugly shift, but it does it. It's not throwing the chain. It's going down with relative ease, going up a little bit of body English. So that is how you get the Trekking Q's front derailleur, which for some reason out of the box isn't compatible with the road shifter. That's how you get them to work. I'm actually really glad that worked. I was starting to lose the faith that I could make it happen. Again, because people always ask, if you're keeping score, front new Q's road shifter, the housing goes all the way over here. We're running it through a wolf tooth cable pull adapter. And, there's a couple reasons why it works. One is that this might be increasing the cable pull, but also I think by virtue of just having an extra bit of cable adjustment there, that lets me pull like a little bit more, make it a little bit tighter. Routing for this Q's derailleur is a little funky because it goes under the bottom bracket, up, and then back over. So I think I'm going to run this setup for a couple weeks and make sure it works on the road. Someone's already typing. Doesn't work if it works on the stand, doesn't mean it works on the road. So that's what we're going to do. But so far I'm feeling pretty optimistic. It feels pretty good. A little bit hacky, but not too hacky, just like the right amount. Good luck finding a mechanic that's willing to do this. I do have the legit Q's link toggle modern front derailleur. If things go sideways, I'll let you know. But I think I'm going to try this out. I just like how the cage fits. It just works better with the rings I like. It is a shame that it's not out of the box compatible. I wonder if they'll ever do a toggle link version of this kind of mountain double front derailleur. Not holding my breath. Of course, another way to go about this is to run this whole system friction. You'd have to bypass the shifter, but if you end up buying the 1x set of Q's road shifters, you could just have a bar end or a thumbie and still use it as a 2x. Okay, hopefully you guys enjoyed the bike shenanigans in this video. Do this at your own risk. I am still testing this out. This will freak out your mechanics for sure. If you guys dig this content, please consider supporting the channel by joining us on Patreon, picking up some merch. Laura just finished up our latest gear guide on our favorite short rides in Girona, which are actually hard to find. And thanks again to the sponsor of this video, Old Man Mountain. They're really supportive of our out of the box kind of thinking and gave us a budget to buy the shifters and derailleurs and all that stuff. As always, everybody, keep the supple side down.